Yeah, something like a butterfly. You are one of a kind. I never seen your type. Oh, must be a brand new special.
Hello guys, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For newcomers and for my returning subscribers, I love you all so much. My name is Igwe Chidima and I'm that yoga fashion lady. Today's tutorial is going to be very simple and beginners friendly. Let's get started. To start, my fabric is on fold now, and I'm going to start by taking my shoulder measurement, and the shoulder I'm working with is 7.5 inches. So I'll come down and take my armhole, which is 7.5 inches as well. You might be wondering why I don't cut off this white part up here that has the label on top. That is because I'll be folding it in, like it's going to serve as my allowance for joining, so I won't be adding extra allowance. Okay, so 7.5 inches for my armhole, 10 inches for the bust point, 13 inches for the um under bust, and 18.5, which is the half length. So here's my chest line, my bust point, under bust, and half length. I'm not going to label it, so that's why I had to point it out. So I'll go ahead and take my dart measurement, that is nipple to nipple, and the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark it all the way down to the half length and connect it up to the chest line as well. To get my shoulder slant, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch from my armhole. So placing my tape on the armhole, I came down by 1/2 inch. And right now I'm taking my neckline. So the neckline width I'm working with is 4 inches by 3.5 inch. But I later changed it though. Right here I marked 4 by 3, but I later changed it to 4.5, like 4.5 by 4. That's the width. I later made the width 4.5 and then the depth 4 inches instead of 3.5. Okay, so you can just do the neck depth and width that you want. So I just connected this shoulder slant now. Then from my half length, I'm taking 1/1 inch on both sides. So on both sides of the 4 inches line I marked earlier, I'm taking 1/1 inch, and I did the same thing on my under bust. So I'm going to take my armhole right now. You can equally check the center of the armhole if you like. Then from there you connect it down to the chest line to form your armhole curve. So I just marked my curve now, and I'm using my ruler here to connect the point I made. That's the 1 point each that I made earlier. Then after connecting it, I'm going to curve it into the bust point like so. So I'm using my curve rule to curve it into my bust point, and I will do the same on the other line. And if you can use your free hand, you can equally do that. So, but just make sure that it stops halfway before the bust line. It's not going to be exactly on the bust line. Okay, then also on the chest line, I'm going to come out by 1 inch as well. So I'm going to connect it from there to the bust point also. So, and then after that, I'm going to place my tape on the armhole and take the half, that's the center half of the armhole. That is what I'm marking here. I'll check the center and connect it from there. Connect it from the line I made at its chest line. Then from there as well, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and mark it. Then I'll connect it. I just connected it now. Then I'm going to make a new armhole curve. I'm done with that, and the next thing I'll do is to take the horizontal measurements, that's imputing all the circumference measurement. So the bust point I'm working with, the bust circumference rather than working with, is 35 divided by 4 will give me 8.75. I just marked it, and then I'll add 2 inches allowance. Then for the half length, which is the waistline, is 7 inches. The waist I'm working with is 7 inches. Then this darts area, I'm going to cut that out, so I measured it and replaced it on this other side, and then I'll also mark 2 inches for the allowance as well. So after that, I connected everything together. I hope you understand. Now to cut the back part of this dress, I'm marking this line here to serve as my starting line. So I'm going to take the shoulder, and the shoulder is 7.5, armhole 7.5 as well. So I'll take my bust point, but I'm going to take on the bust, so I'll just take the half length. Please pardon the double line on the armhole. I noticed that it was that the folding I made was too much, so I had to take it back a little bit, and then we take the armhole. So that's why it's having two lines, but the one in front is the main armhole. Okay, so I'm taking my bust measurement and my waist measurement now. That is what I just did and connected it. Then I'll come down by half an inch for the shoulder slant, and then the neckline 4.5 like I told us earlier, and then for the depth it will be 3 inches, while the depth for the front is 4. Although this neckline is not really that important, because you know this dress has a loop, so I'm going to still make a V later on at the back. So as you noticed, I didn't put 2 inches for the zipper allowance because it's going to have a loop. Okay, right now for the down part, which is the skirt part of the gown, I'm going to take the full length of the skirt, which is 27 inches. I have already minused the upper part to give me the full length of this down part. Okay, and from this up point I came down by 8 inches, which is the hip line, the hip point. So the hip I'm working with is 10 inches plus 2 inches, that is the allowance. I just marked it. The waist is 7 inches, then plus 2 inch for the allowance. That is what I'm marking here. Then for this down part, to give you the pencil shape, you take away 2 inches from your hip measurement. That is, my hip measurement is 10, so I'm going to take away 2 inches. That will give me 8. For the back part, I have already removed 2 inches for the zipper allowance, which is this at the back, before placing my front part. So I just cut it open now, the zipper part. So right now, to make our asymmetric line, I've placed my two skirts together. The zipper side is down, and then this front is down. So you will determine how high you want the asymmetric line to be. Some people will go as far as making it to the hip point. I came down a little bit from my hip before making the line. So for the gathers that you need, you just have to measure the this line now. whatever you get, then multiply it by 2 because you'll be doing for the front and the back, right? And also depending on how full you want your gathers to be, so that will determine how much of the fabric you will cut. So the length of mine is 51 inches and I'm going to cut it twice. I used wadding for this front part and I've ironed it to the fabric, and the lining I used gum stay. I've also ironed it to the lining. And then for the sleeve, I used a hard stay to make it strong and firm, and then the lining soft gum stay. So for this back part, I'm going to, from this chest line, I'm going to make the line across, like connect it, the chest line. Then after connecting it, like I told us, I was going to make it a V, so that is what I'm doing here. I'm going to mark it straight to the neck, neck width, and then I'll connect it. I'm going in here by 2 inches. That is where the loop will be. So I'm going to mark it all the way down, and then I'll connect it, then cut it out. And these 2 inches that I cut out, I'm still going to sew it and use it to cover my back after the loop. This is it here. My back won't be open. Now, after sewing this down part, I measured this particular side to help me know how to gather the pieces that I'll join. So I'm done joining the upper and the down part. So, and I've also gathered the pieces. I've also made my gather. So I'm going to pin it round. After pinning it, I will then go and sew it together and then also shape the dress, and we will be done. So guys, we've come to the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and become a member of this great family. I love you. Bye.